You see the lights behind you. Your heart rate doubles. An officer approaches your window and says the words nobody wants to hear. Have you been drinking tonight? What you do in the next 5 minutes matters more than almost anything that happens after. This video is going to walk you through your legal rights during a suspected DUI stop, what you are required to do, what you are not required to do, and the mistakes that most people make that turn a traffic stop into a conviction. Quick note before we get into it. This is educational information, not legal advice. If you are arrested, you need a licensed DUI attorney in your state. That call matters. This video helps you understand what comes before it. And subscribe. This is exactly what this channel covers every week. Let's start with what you are legally required to do. In every state, you must provide your driver's license, vehicle registration, and proof of insurance when asked by a police officer during a traffic stop. You must also identify yourself, your name, in most states. That's it. Everything else is a choice. The first critical moment comes when the officer asks, "Have you had anything to drink tonight?" You are not required to answer that question. It is not rude to decline. It is not obstruction. It is a constitutional right. The Fifth Amendment protects you from being compelled to provide testimony that could incriminate you. A calm, polite response is, "Officer, I prefer not to answer questions without an attorney present." That sentence, delivered calmly and respectfully, protects you far more than any explanation you might offer. And never lie. Lying to a law enforcement officer is a separate crime in most states. If you don't want to answer, don't answer. But don't fabricate. The second critical moment is the field sobriety test. In most states, you have the right to decline standardized field sobriety tests. The walk and turn, the one-leg stand, the horizontal gaze test. These tests are voluntary in most states, though officers rarely explain that. They are also subjective, meaning an officer scores them based on their own observation. Even completely sober people fail field sobriety tests due to nervousness, fatigue, medical conditions, or simply poor balance. If you decline, you can do so politely. I'd prefer not to perform field sobriety tests. The officer may still arrest you. Declining is not a guarantee of freedom, but it means there is less evidence for a prosecutor to use against you later. The third critical moment is the chemical test, the breathalyzer or blood test. This one is different. Every state has what's called an implied consent law. When you got your driver's license, you legally agreed to submit to chemical testing if lawfully arrested for DUI. Refusing a breathalyzer or blood test after an arrest, not just a traffic stop, but an actual arrest, triggers automatic penalties in virtually every state. Those penalties often include an immediate license suspension, sometimes for a year or more, and the refusal itself can be used as evidence against you in court. This is a genuinely complex decision that depends on your state's specific laws, and it is one where consulting a DUI attorney as fast as possible matters enormously. But the key distinction is this: field sobriety tests before arrest are generally voluntary. Chemical tests after arrest carry serious consequences for refusal. Know the difference. Fourth, if you are arrested, invoke your right to an attorney immediately and clearly. Say the words out loud. "I am invoking my right to an attorney. I will not answer any questions until I have spoken with an attorney." Then stop talking. This is not about being uncooperative. It is about the fact that anything you say after your arrest can and will be used against you in court. A DUI attorney can challenge the legality of the stop, the administration of field sobriety tests, the calibration of the breathalyzer, the chain of custody of a blood sample, and a dozen other factors that may not be obvious to you in the moment, but only if you haven't already made statements that tie their hands. Here's the summary. Provide your license, registration, and insurance. You are required to. Politely decline to answer questions about drinking. You are not required to answer. Understand that field sobriety tests are voluntary in most states. You can decline. Know the chemical tests after arrest carry implied consent consequences. This decision has real stakes either way. Invoke your right to an attorney immediately if arrested. And then stop talking. Being pulled over under suspicion of DUI is one of the most stressful legal situations a person can face. Knowing your rights before it happens is the only way to be ready for it. Subscribe. This is the kind of thing we cover every week. And share this with someone who doesn't know this yet, because most people learn it too late.